record to the. Can somebody double check for me that we are live on Facebook? We are. Thank you, Caesar. Awesome. So let's get started, guys. So I'm excited about two things today. So I'm going to introduce our first speaker, who is Toby Mathis, and Toby's awesome. He's an amazing attorney. So what happened is, guys, as I was growing and opening multiple different companies and getting advice for financial advisors and attorneys and business planners and your CP and all that, you're going to get different advice from everybody. And then you're stuck in the middle trying to figure out what is the right avenue for you to take, right? And most of the time I felt like I'm in no business of making these decisions because I don't even understand half the things that I'm making decisions about. Right. So I wanted to create what I call a board of advisors. And I've done a bunch of research, interviewed a bunch of different companies nationwide. And actually one of our own, Christine Fusion and her husband, Carl, they were visiting here. We were helping them set up all of their stuff. And Carl is an investor with multiple doors. And he told me about Anderson's. And I was like, what is this Anderson's thing? Right. So I did my research. I've been with them now for over 6 months. The idea is to set all of our assets up. So all of our businesses, make sure that we reduce our taxable income. Then we have advice on, first of all, how to pay taxes and how to save money and, you know, how to invest for your future, how to protect the money that you worked so hard to earn. So Toby is so gracious. And once a month, are open to the public, he's going to come and be our just kind of eye opener to what is going on in the tax world, how you can save money, how you can protect your assets. And I think today he's going to talk to us about how not to get audited. Is that right, Toby?
I can talk about audits all day long if you want me to.
I hope you know I have to have that conversation, but tell us about it.
Yeah, so I guess today we'll focus in on auditing because there's a lot of misconceptions and a lot of bad information out there about what actually goes on. Number one, I don't want you ever to worry about an audit. There's an audit is a fancy way of saying a calculator shows up on your doorstep and starts to calculate what you should owe based off of the numbers that you provided and that third parties that provided on your behalf. So if you're a real estate agent, and I'm assuming most everybody here is a real estate professional, you probably have a 1099 or something. Somebody's saying, hey, I gave Christy this much money, or I gave Gogo this much money. And the IRS gets it and they expect to see it on your return. If for whatever reason your numbers don't match up, they may kick out an audit. And what they're saying is, hey, our numbers don't match up. That's called a correspondence audit. Don't freak out. You get it. You always hear all these horror stories. They're not bad at all. Yeah, but they're also very, very rare if you do things right. Audit rates over the last 10 years have been plummeting, like going way down. And specifically for normal people, they've been going down precipitously. Like I think it's 0.1% really is where most of you guys will be sitting, unless you're doing something like being a sole proprietor, in which case it's going to be like 2.6%. Like you could jack it up depending on how you structure yourself. If you
and most LLCs are sole proprietor. I can't say that word. Right? Most LLCs are set up as sole proprietor, right?
Right. So most accountants have been taught, hey, sole proprietor's easier, right? And they think it's less formalities. The truth, if I showed you a sole proprietor tax form, which is a Schedule C on your 1040. So when you do your tax return, you're going to see them, hey, here's a Schedule C. That's a fancy way of saying you're a sole proprietor. It's actually one of the highest audit rates that's out there because the IRS wins their audits against sole proprietors. Get this, 94 to 95% of the time. They annihilate sole proprietors because accountants say it's so much easier and there's not as many formalities, because that's not true. It's the rules are that for any business you have the same bookkeeping requirements. It's books and records. When you do a tax return, they then say, well, it's easier to do a sole proprietorship return. If I put a sole proprietorship Schedule C next to an S Corp return, which is really what your other option is if you want to lower your taxes, usually about 10 to 15%, you act like an S Corp. But if I put those two returns side by side, you're going to look at it and say, probably the sole proprietorship return looks more difficult. It has more lines you have to fill out, more information you have to complete. It's actually, it's like opposite day when you look at these things. The problem that I have is the audit rate of a sole proprietor is about 800% higher than if you're a S Corp. And let me just stop right now, because I said S Corp and I don't want you guys to get too confused. You can have an LLC that is taxed as an S Corp. You can have an LLC that is disregarded and treated as a sole proprietorship. It's literally one form that you file with the IRS. And all it does is it takes...
Initially, I had a sole proprietor, and then we turned it into an LLC filing as an S Corp.
Yeah, about 70% of the companies out there are sole proprietorships. And the problem that you have is, because it's in theory easier, nobody creates separation between their personal and their business. And I have to track everything. I have a cell phone. I have to track what my business use on that phone is, unless I magically become, if I become an S Corp, then I could just reimburse the whole thing 100%. I don't have to track anything. Did the business get a benefit out of it? Yes. Okay, it can pay the 100%. How about my computer? Yep, business can pay 100%. How about my home? I use my home office. If you are a sole proprietor, you file a separate form. It's a document that you file for your home office. I mean, that's what a lot of people, it's like, I'm always like, if you want a red flag, do that. Because they'll give you $5 per square foot. If I am an S Corp, I reimburse the value, and I can use any number. Like I use room methodology, net square footage. I could use whatever is a reasonable methodology, and I get about 10 times more deduction if I do that. It's not even close. So what I find is that individuals that, let's say that you're a typical agent, you're making $75,000 to $100,000 a year, you will save about $7,000 to $10,000 a year just by being an S Corp. And what accountants say is, oh, it's more expensive, you have more formalities. Again, that's just not true. I'm sorry. You have an extra return, but the return information is the same as you'd be putting on Schedule C. In other words, even if I did a 1040, I'm still doing a separate Schedule C that is the exact same information that would be on the corporate return. It's the same amount of work. Our firm does probably 10,000 returns a year for investors and business owners, and S Corp returns are easy peasy, less than an hour if you have good books. You have to have good books, whether you're a sole proprietor or an S Corp. And so I think what happens is accountants say, hey, this is, it's so much easier, or this, that, or the other. And they get you to think that you don't actually have to do things that you're supposed to do. And that's the reason why the IRS is so successful auditing sole proprietorship. So I'll just put it this way. Option one, you're going to get audited several times during your life. Option two, you're going to get audited once every 500 years. Option one, you're going to lose that audit 95% of the time. Option two, you're going to lose that audit about 60% of the time. Option one, you pay an extra $10,000 a year. Option two, you don't, right? It becomes pretty clear we should probably be looking at option two. 70% of the businesses out there don't. And it always kind of shocks me.
So do you think, I think initially, so I used to have a CPA here in Michigan, and he kind of refused, I guess, to do the S Corp. Do you think most agents don't do it because, and I could be totally wrong here, let me ask you this. Does an agent has to have a broker's license in most states in order to have an S Corp?
So absolutely, that's not actually accurate.
Okay.
In order, so you can create a business that's going to get paid. And in some states, in quite a few, you have to have the entity license to get paid. But that doesn't mean that you have to have the entity get paid directly in order to have it effective. So there's actually a case, I think it was Flannery, where the IRS said, if you are a person, and it came out of the financial industry because they have a lot of the same restrictions. So it was not a real estate broker, but it was a financial services professional, and their company could not pay their S Corp. It could only pay the individual agent.
Yeah, and same in real estate,
yeah.
right? If we don't have a broker's license, we have to get paid as an individual.
Correct. And what you do is there's two documents you do. One is an employment agreement with your S Corp, and the other is letting the broker know that you're under the exclusive control of that S Corp. And they just put it in their file. And what it allows you to do is just to report that information on your S Corp instead of as an individual. So the check's made out to you and you just endorse it and put it in the S Corp. There's another route you go, which is to recognize it on Schedule C. Let's say you got paid $100,000, you would have $100,000 go in on Schedule C and $100,000 expense, and immediately just write it to the S Corp. Those are your two choices. Either one works. Neither one's going to trigger you for audit. Like if you zero out a Schedule C, doesn't really matter. The audit rate's minuscule. If I have a loss on a Schedule C multiple years, I'm going to get audited because there's a rule called 183. That's the hobby loss rule. You have to make money 3 out of 5 years. They're going to presume that you're doing a hobby and you're just, using the deductions, writing things off. But if you're zeroed out, that's literally the remedy. If you were a hobby, all they say is you can't take an extra loss. So you could only write off up to the amount of revenue you bring in. So like, again, I sit here and stare at the numbers all day long. I could share some of the numbers with you if you want. I have the IRS data book sitting here over my left shoulder.
That sounds like maybe if you really have nothing else to do one day, we can do that, but that's not today. We are actually 1 minute over your time. So thank you, Toby. I took some amazing notes. The best way, guys, you should, I guess you know by now, I never, ever, ever bring anyone on here with any services that they provide unless I personally use them, love them, and trust them, right? So Toby and his team at Anderson's, we have been working together for months and months and months on my own business and setting up all of the structures together. So we asked him if he would be so kind and come on and share his knowledge with all of you guys. So once a month, we are going to bring these kind of things. So the one thing I guess you want to look at right now is go back. I'm assuming you have at least an LLC, right? Like you're not running everything just in your personal name. So let's assume that you already have an LLC. You want to see, how did you file your taxes? Did you file with a Schedule C? If you did, you're a sole proprietor, blah, 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 sole, whatever that is, the word that I can't pronounce, right? And if that's the case, you might want to talk to your CPA and switch your company over. Keep it as an LLC, but file as an S Corp. Just as Toby said, you're going to save money, you're going to be audited less, and you're going to, what was the other thing? You can write off more things, right? Get audited less and make more money. So just keep that in mind. Thank you, Toby. And Lindsay, would you please share their link? So if you would like to get in contact with Anderson's, Lindsay shared their link. Feel free to give them a call. You can just sit through on an initial get to know you conversation, see all of the services that they do. I literally maxed out everything that they had to offer. I opted in. I mean, it's a long list of things, but have an interview with them, see if they can help you and make sure that you're protected. Awesome. Toby, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Gogo. See you later, guys.
Thank you. Our next speaker is, I am so excited about Palm Agent because Palm Agent, literally, I don't know how any realtor can do their job without this app. I mean, I looked like some badass in real estate every time I use this app. So Palm Agent is here today. Since I've been using them, I want to say at least 7-8 years. Yeah. I've been using this app, if not longer, right? I've been in the industry for 11 years. I did not use it in the first few. So I'm assuming 7-8 years I've been using Palm Agent. But now they have all kinds of new tricks. Like one of my favorite things, you can plug in all of your multiple offers. Like let's say you have 75 multiple offers. You can plug them in and we'll literally do the math and tell you which one is the best offer. What? Lifesaver, right? But the reason I use them mostly is the sellers and buyers net sheet. And here are the reason and the ways how I use them. My favorite was on the buy side. So let's say you're showing houses and they are like, oh my gosh, we love it, Gogo, but we don't know if we can afford it. This is kind of on our higher end. The homeowners association is $250. It's a pretty hefty amount, right? So what I would do at that time, open up my app, right? Plug in the address of the property and the price of the property. What's the homeowners association? What's the taxes? Do they have conventional loan or FHA or VA or whatever, how much they're putting down? And we'll literally spit out the number, what their monthly mortgage payment would be and what they have to bring to closing. And right there, before we ever even left the property, they already knew we can afford this. Let's go make an offer, right? So that's how I used to use it on the buy side. On the listing side, though, when you're having that conversation, not today, because the market is hot today, right? And you don't have to convince your unreasonable seller to not list that high, because it will probably freaking sell when you list it that high, right? But in the past, I used to have the conversation when I had to convince them at a lower price. They were like, yeah, but then how much money do we make? Like, what's our net, right? I never want to be liable for that net number. So I always use the app. I plugged it. I went to the seller tab in the bottom. I put in the address of the property, the price, the expenses, how much they owe on the property, right? Because now you have to deduct that from the profits, and it spits out a number and tells you, if you sell at this price, what is their net? What the amount of dollars that they're going to walk away with? So today we have Mike here from Palm Agent, and he's literally going to do an awesome presentation. He's going to walk us through how to download the app, being an Apple device or a Droid, so it doesn't matter. Also, you can use this on your laptop, which I've never used it on the laptop. I always use it on my phone, just FYI, but you can also use it on a laptop. So Mike, can you take it from here?
Yeah, definitely. I need to be able to share my screen.
Absolutely. There you go.
Yeah, thank you for such an amazing introduction. I mean, you told them everything. There's nothing left for me.
That's the part that excites me, right? We're going to detail with the rest. There you go.
All right. So yeah. So today we're talking about the University Title Agency One app provided to you guys by GoGo, the rest of the team there at Academy Title, and their parent company, University Title Agency. So you can, of course, search for this app in your app store, University Title Agency One. You know, Apple App Store, as I have on my iPad here, or the Google Play Store if you're on an Android device. You can also go to this website. You know, you can open up your browser, go to universitytitleagencyapp.com and press this Get the App button. On those larger devices like your laptop or desktop computer, there is going to be a login button in the top right corner that gives you the ability to log into the web version of the app. So all the cool features today that I'll show you also available at on larger devices like your laptop or desktop. So that's the first thing I want to show you, how to get the app. Now, you know, GoGo gave an amazing introduction to this app. It's a closing cost calculator, as you guys may understand now. So when you're sitting there with buyers or sellers and house shopping with those buyers, or sitting in that listing presentation with your sellers, being able to talk about the numbers is really important for providing a better experience to that consumer. And you know, that's what this is all about, being able to pull out your phone and run a quick scenario for a buyer or for a seller. Now, what she didn't have the opportunity to say is that we also like to take the calculations and rerun them in unique ways to help you get over those difficult conversations. So if you're trying to convince that buyer to make an offer above ask, or maybe you're working with that unrealistic seller and you're trying to get them to lower that listing price to a more realistic listing price, we've got features in here that help you handle those types of situations with ease. In addition to that, we've got a large marketing content library available in here that really help you get some exposure on social media with some really innovative content types. And so I'm going to show you all of that. Let's go ahead and open up the University Title Agency One app, and I'll go through and show you how to use this bad boy. So first, it's going to open up to my buyer tab. As you can see down here at the bottom, this is our tab bar, and that's how we navigate throughout the app. So the buyer tab, of course, for when you're working with buyers, typically when you're house shopping. The seller tab is what you'll use to create that great looking net sheet for your listing presentations. The calculators tab is where you'll find all of those additional calculators that we've jam-packed into this tool for you. A rent versus buy calculator, extra payment calculator, all these different calculators that we've loaded in here to really help you look like an expert when you're out there estimating. We do have a question about having the 3 states to choose from. The University Title Agency One app is only available in those 3 states. However, I'll show you when you can run taxes, how you can plug in an address for anywhere in the nation and it'll still work. So definitely wanted to mention that. All right. The premium tab, that's the last tab down there at the bottom. That's going to be that marketing content library. Like I said, there's yeah.
Can I add on to that? So guys, you can still download the app, choose the state of Michigan, and then choose Chris Keels as your rep. Okay, it's going to ask you who's your rep is. And choose Chris Keels. That gives you access to all of the features here. The only thing that you're going to have to change is the taxes, the local taxes, right? And then when Mike gets to that, you can always go into like your public records when you're looking at a specific property, and right in there is going to tax you what, or it's going to show you what their taxes are. And then you just manually enter it instead of pulling it from the system, but you can still use the app.
Yeah. All right, so that premium section, all that marketing content, I'll of course show you guys all of that, all those bells and whistles. But first, I want to get you excited about what's being provided to you for free. And so I want to talk about the first 3 tabs of the app, because again, that's what's being provided to you guys for free by the folks there at Academy Title and of course, University Title Agency.
And before you guys worry about, I'm trying to sell you something, the premier version is 99 cents.
99 cents a month.
Don't log off thinking I'm trying to sell you something over here, right?
Yes. We definitely are available in Texas. The person that said Texas, that's where we're from, Palm Agent, the company that makes this. All right, so yes, with that 99-cent subscription, that's only for the premium. And you know, there's a lot of cool stuff in there that I'll get the chance to show you, but really 80% of the value is, again, being provided to you guys for free. So you're getting 15 plus different calculators and a lot of cool features. I'll definitely show you what's included for free and what does require that premium subscription. All right, so I'll start with the buyer tab. You know, as Gogo mentioned, when you're out there house shopping, that's when you're going to want to use this tool. You know, the buyer may be pre-approved for, let's say, 600,000. Not every house they look at is going to be exactly 600,000 on the dot. And so when they're looking at those different price points, that's where you having a tool like this, being able to pull out your phone and say, hey, the first house that we're looking at, it's 5.25. It's going to cost about this much a month. You're going to have to bring about this much to close on the home. Whereas that next house that we're going to go look at, that one's listed at 580 and it's going to cost more like this much a month. You know, being able to estimate like that, that's what this is all about. And in terms of ease of use, there is nothing simpler. You can actually just plug in a home price and hit compute. Now, I do want to mention, yesterday when I met with GoGo, I was associated with Michigan. I have switched to a Florida market. I do want to explain for those of you, I saw that we had Orlando on the call and a couple different areas. For those of you that do need to switch areas, you can always change area, whether it's the state or the county, by pressing that drop-down arrow and then just choosing the area that you want to be associated with. So I will be showing, you know, Brevard County. The functionality will be the same, but the fees might be a little different if you're associated with Michigan. I will still, however, handle the tax, talk about the tax, the way we handle taxes in Michigan. I know it's a little special, so I will mention that for you guys. All right, in terms of ease of use, again, all I have to do is plug in a home price, and really that's it. Plug in that home price and hit compute down there at the bottom. Thanks to all these defaults, it's that easy. Now, I do want to talk about a few of the other things that we want to know about, that you guys might want to know about, like the loan type, that second input field. We're defaulted to conventional, but we do have that drop-down arrow where you can choose an FHA, a VA, all cash. The corresponding fees will be built in, and there's small intricacies between the different loan types. Like if I choose that FHA, it's going to default that down payment to 3.5%. So all of that's been built in for you guys automatically. Now, down payment, interest rate, term length, hazard insurance, those are based off national averages. You guys can, of course, change those. For the sake of time, I'm going to keep them the same. I do, however, want to talk about taxes. So you can see in Florida, you'll have a tax rate loaded in there by default. For those of you in some of the Michigan counties, it'll instead say calculate taxes, where you can go in and plug in that annual tax amount and how much of that the seller has already paid. So that's how it'll work in Michigan and some of the Michigan counties. But for those of you in Florida, you'll have a rate loaded in here. Then you'll also have a drop-down arrow where you can choose from other rates from areas in that specific county or close to that county. And so if you do switch your area with that drop-down arrow at the top of the screen, like I showed you earlier, you'll have a different list of rates here based on whatever county you're associated with. So those are ways to use the app if you want to use a rough rate. However, a better way to handle taxes, and this will apply for you guys out there in Michigan as well, is up in the top left corner, we've got an add address button, and that uses a feature we call home link. If I press that add address button, I'm actually able to plug in an address, and the taxes are going to be pulled for me automatically. We're going to hit county records, and we'll show you an assessed value, a year, and a tax amount. And to use it, you just press that done button. And after you do so, the app's going to load that tax amount into the tax input field for you automatically. So a nice, easy way for you guys to handle taxes. Again, plug in that address in the top left corner. All right, enough about the input screen. I want to get to those results. So I'm going to press that compute button down there at the bottom. And, this is a pop-up that I do want to explain. It's not something you're going to get every single time, but this is a safeguard we plugged into the app for any areas that have experienced a higher rate of appreciation. So the scenario that I was running was for a 5.25 price point. However, the taxes that I was pulling was for a house that was listed at $399. And so the app here is showing me, hey, if we ran last year's taxes, it'd be $8,500. However, if we use that new price point that you plugged in and the rate that we had defaulted in there, the estimated taxes would be more like $12,000. Which one do you want to use? So this isn't something that you're going to get every single time, but if you're in an area that has experienced a lot of appreciation, we're going to give you the option to either use that rate based on the price point that you have, or to use last year's taxes. So I wanted to explain that. I'll go ahead and use the estimated property taxes. I'll press that done button. Just like that, I'm sitting down with that buyer, telling them that they're going to be spending about $4,500 a month on that home, and then they need to bring about 71 grand to close on this home. So the two numbers that they really care about front and center for me. Now, one thing that makes this such an amazing tool for you guys is that bring to close amount. There's a lot of work that we, along with GoGo, the rest of the team there at both Academy and a university title agency, we work together to preload in the fees that you typically need. So if you're telling them it's going to be $71,400, you're getting very close. Now, if you want to take a look at the closing costs that we've got included in that estimate, you can press that detailed closing cost button in blue, and it's going to itemize all those closing costs out for you. We even have them categorize prepaids, title fees, lender fees, and other fees. Now, every transaction is different. We understand that. So we do give you the ability to edit these closing costs and dial these numbers in a bit. That edit button in the top right corner, if you press that, you'll see that we can toggle certain policies to be paid by the other party. We can remove line items, add new line items, adjust the numbers that are already here. So we can really tweak these closing costs and dial them in for our transaction or for our business. But again, they're being provided to you guys preloaded with the fees that you typically need. So you're already going to get extremely close.
And now, I add that a little bit. So don't forget, guys, the one thing that is not on here automatically is the transaction fee that you charge. So if you charge a transaction fee, broker fee, whatever fee that you call it, right? Like we charge a $4.95 to our sellers and a $4.95 to our buyers. That is not going to be on here automatically, but that does affect the bottom line of your client, right? So you want to make sure to manually enter that in here. If you charge a $3.95 or $2.50 or $9.99, whatever that you charge, enter it into the fees.
Yeah. And in fact, GoGo got excited when I showed her this last time or yesterday. So I want to show you guys as well. If you do make any edits, so I'll go in here into the other fees and add a new fee. And I'll just say, the GoGo fee for, what'd you say, $3.95? I'll do $3.95 for that GoGo fee. Any fee changes that you make here, when you want to save these changes, I'll press that done button in the top right corner. And we're going to give you two options for saving that. You can save for just this estimate if you're trying to dial the numbers in for a specific transaction. But if you're needing to go in there and edit your defaults and add that fee that needs to be included on every estimate you run moving forward, you can go in, add that fee, and hit for all future estimates to have that fee change reflected on every estimate you run moving forward. So definitely wanted to mention this really quickly for you guys. All right, I'm going to press the back button, take us back to our results screen, and I'm going to show you some of the features that we've got built into the results screen that really makes this such an amazing tool for you guys when you're out there in the field meeting with those clients face to face. The first feature I like to show you, it's kind of hidden in there. It's accessed by a gesture. You'll have to shake your device to access this. So on all of our results screens, we do have that added gesture where if you shake the device on the results screen, it'll rerun that calculation to help you in those difficult conversations. So here on the buyer side, what we've plugged in is a way for you guys to talk about offer price and what an increase in offer price does to that monthly payment. You know, maybe you're working with that buyer, you've submitted 2 or 3, maybe even 4 offers for them already, and you've lost out every single time. And so this time you're trying to play it a little different, maybe get them to offer something above ask. Well, that's a difficult conversation for you to tell a buyer they got to spend $10,000 more. So we want to make that a little bit easier for you. So again, hold your device in front of you, shake it back and forth, and it's going to create a screen that says how offer price can affect my payment. And then it shows with $10,000 increments what making a more competitive offer does to that monthly payment. And if you want to be a pro like I am, use that setting here in the bottom left corner. If I press that, I can switch it to show the difference instead of the actual payment. I could also adjust the increments. I'll keep that at 10,000. But when I hit done, it's going to rerun the calculation on that screen. So now I can sit down with this buyer and I can say, hey, I know we've lost out on the last 3 offers that we've submitted. This time I say we go in aggressive and we make that offer above list. You know, I know the house is listed at 5.25, but if you submit that 535 offer, let those sellers know we're serious. That's only going to change your monthly payment by $67. Is it worth, you know, having us miss out on this house as well over $67? So this is a much more effective way for you guys to educate that buyer into making that competitive offer that's actually going to get closed. So you can also send this off on a great looking report. All of our hidden features like this will come with an additional screen or a printout for that. If you press that share icon in the bottom right corner, whenever you want to send something off, just look for that box with the arrow coming out of it. If I press that, the app is actually going to generate a great looking printout with all that information on it. So definitely something that'll come in handy for you guys when you're meeting with those buyers face to face. All right, I'm going to X out of this screen, and now I want to talk about something else that we've got loaded onto all of our results screens. It's editability of the results. We want you to be able to be flexible in those conversations with those clients. And so we like to make our results screens editable so you can run the results backwards right here from your results screen. So for example, let's say I'm working with buyers, I show them this results screen, they look at that monthly payment and they say, you know what, $4,500 is a little high. We've only budgeted to spend about $4,200 a month. I don't want to spend a dime above $4,200 a month on my home. Well, there's an edit button below both the monthly payment and bring to close. So you can actually press that and adjust this. So I can say, okay, you want to keep that monthly payment around $4,200. I'll plug that in. And when I hit done, without skipping a beat, I'm able to say, hey, not a problem. If you're trying to keep that monthly payment around $4,200, you're actually going to have to bring about $114 to close on this home. That's going to get your down payment high enough to get your monthly payment down to $4,200. So again, the flexibility for either of those numbers. Maybe that home buyer doesn't have 114, or maybe they've got more than that because they just sold their home and they want to bring all of that towards this new home. You can adjust these numbers based on what that buyer is saying to you. So really cool feature with editing the results. All right, next I want to draw your attention to the blue bar at the top of the screen. That's going to show you additional result screens that you can swipe over to. First, I want to show you the Smart Compare on the left side. If I swipe over to that, this is just a loan comparison tool. It's not something you're going to use every single time, but if you're working with a buyer with a little bit of flexibility, this is a great result screen to have. You know, this is where we're going to automatically create 2 compared loans to help you show that buyer some options for this purchase. You know, we're going to create those loans for you. You can always press that edit button in the top left corner if you want to adjust the loans that we're creating. Maybe you just want to show what putting more down looks like, or buying that interest rate down, what that looks like. So you can always press that edit button in the top left corner and adjust the 2 compared loans that the app creates. But like I said, we're going to try to create those for you automatically. So that's Smart Compare on the left side. On the right side, we've got loan details. By switching over to that, you can see that I've got all the loan details at the top of the screen. And at the bottom of the screen, we've got a complete amortization schedule. We're going to run a complete amortization schedule for every scenario you put through this buyer's program. So I can scroll through, look at any of the years, see how much principal, interest, and what the loan balance for any month within any year of the loan.
Hey, Mike, is your Wi-Fi going in and out? It sounded like a robot for a little bit.
It shouldn't be, but I can definitely change my microphone. How does this sound? Is this better?
Much better.
Yeah, there we go. All right. Yeah. All right. So let me swipe back over to the estimate. You know, it's more than just running the scenario for that client. It's also about getting this information over to the client in a nice professional way. Well, we've got great looking printouts that are included. If I press that share icon in the top right corner, again, the box with the arrow coming out of it, the first option is going to be send full report. If I press that send full report button, the app's going to take that estimate for me. It's going to create a great looking report for me. It's going to have all the loan information on the first page. Closing costs will be itemized out on the second page. Just a really clean report for me to send over that client and talk about all the costs involved in the purchase of this home. Now, at the end of the day, this is just an estimate. It's not an actual CD. So we do have that estimate verbiage built into a disclaimer that's going to show up at the bottom of your pages here on your estimate. But as you can see, a really great printout here that I can print off. I can email it over to that client. It's got my branding on here. I can load all that information into my profile and it automatically brands this for me. If you're a premium subscriber, you can also add your photo and your logo to your account as well.
And now, to be a premium subscriber, it's $10 a year, $9.99.
Yeah,
okay?
I think it's worth that much just to be able to add my photo and logo to my account, but you're going to be blown away with how much value you're getting for that 99-cent subscription.
I used to text this guy right there. So usually almost every house has a staircase, right? So I usually sit down on the staircase, plug these numbers in, they're standing there, and I just text it to them right there and then. So they both have it on their phone. They can open it up and look at it. And most people, don't forget, most people are visual, right? So you could tell them the number and it might go in on one ear and out on the other, but when they see it, they're like, oh, it's only 4,800. We can totally afford that. Let's do it, right? So send it to them right there and then, because they have to be able, especially in today's market, they have to be able to make a decision right there, because this house is not going to be in the market at 7 p.m. tonight. So if you want it, you need to make a decision. Now, also keep in mind a little trick, right? In most homes, you can be recorded. So you might want to have the conversation on the driveway nowadays, not inside, because they can listen to you.
Yeah. And in regards to sharing it, again, that share icon, whenever you want to send something off, that box with the arrow coming out of it, you can press that, you can text it, email it, airdrop it, all those different options for sharing that printout with that client. So there's several things that we can do to this estimate before we send it out. First, I want to point out the templates button in the bottom left corner. If I press that, you'll see that we actually provide you guys with 7 different styles of a report. You know, we want to let you choose what you think might work best for that client. We've got 7 different styles included for free for you to choose from, some of which have added functionality like a cover photo or color options. So you can really go in here, choose the style that you think works best, and then customize it to work for your business. In addition to that templates button in the bottom left, in the bottom right, there's a customize button. If I press that customize button, the first option is going to be language. We actually have 14 different languages that we can translate this entire document to. So if you're working with a buyer who speaks a different language, you're going to look like a rock star giving them a translated version and an English version. They can go home and go over this information with the rest of the family in their native tongue. So that's a really hot feature.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Color options for some of the report styles. So you'll be able to scroll through color options there. If you need to update your profile information, we of course have that option. Maybe I need to add my license number. Adding property details is definitely something I want you guys to get accustomed to doing. If I press on that property details, I can add a client name, address, notes, maybe what school district. Adding property photos, that's something that you can do to really tailor this estimate to a specific buyer. You know, whether you're taking a picture of those buyers standing in front of that house and loading that into the estimate, or maybe you're taking a picture of a bonus room they had a lot of ideas for, or that backyard they were excited about because they've got dogs and there's a lot of room for the dogs to run around. You know, you can actually tailor this estimate to that specific buyer and make it more likely that they'll buy the house if you showcase features that spoke to them specifically. So I definitely want you guys to get accustomed to using those features right there. So if you do want to adjust on some of those other printouts, like the cover photo, it'll be an added option here in the property details section. This is one that doesn't have a cover photo, and so it won't show as an option here, but any of the other styles that do have a cover photo option, that'd be edited here. I also want to point out the video link. So the video link option is where you can attach drone footage, video walkthrough, any kinds of videos that you want to attach to your estimate. You can attach the link here. A really creative way I've heard this used recently is the agent likes to record those buyers walking the house and load a link to that video in each of the estimates. You know, if they're walking 3 or 4 houses that day, it's a great way for them to send them the 3 or 4 estimates, and each of those estimates have the video recording of them walking that house. And then they'll remember different smaller features that they really loved. Maybe they fell in love with that pantry that was under the stairs and they forgot about it, but being able to rewatch that video is definitely something that helped jog that memory. And I thought that was a really cool way, so I wanted to mention it with you guys today. All right, I'm going to X out of this. So I'll press that cancel button in the top left. You know, everything we've talked about in
Mike, somebody has a question. Is there a disclaimer about that I am not a lender, yada, yada, yada? Can you show that disclaimer very quick, please?
Yeah, so we have this disclaimer here at the bottom that talks about estimate verbiage and mentions that this is just an estimate. However, I do want to mention that I'll show you later in your profile, you can actually go in and adjust what your disclaimer says. So I'll mention that later when I talk about the profile. If there is different verbiage that you need to include in that disclaimer, you definitely can edit that. All right. Everything we've talked about is included for free. Aside from adding your photo and logo to your account, everything else that we've talked about so far is included for free here on the buyer side. Now, I do want to take a step back. So I'm going to press this back button in the top left, and I want to show you another buyer estimate that we have here. But this one does require that you're a premium subscriber to be able to be accessed. However, it's such a valuable piece of content for you guys to use to market a listing. If I press that share icon in the top right corner, the second option is going to be Send Geo Report. And if I press that Send Geo Report button, it's going to create an estimate for me again. However, this time it's going to use the address that I plugged in for taxes to pull geo-specific data. And if I hadn't added an address, there'd be an Add Address button that shows at the top of the screen. But you'll see it's going to pull convenience information from Google, like how close that gym, hospital, or grocery store is, nearby schools, along with their ratings. We've got that information provided by Niche. Restaurants within a 5-mile radius provided by Yelp, internet speeds and providers available to that address, which is more important than ever before. People schooling or working from home, streaming all their content, being able to show them that there's fiber internet available at that address, really important piece of information. And we're actually the only ones partnered with that company to bring this information to the public. We also have a walk score and a sound score on here, so you can show if that neighborhood is a quiet neighborhood, or if it's walkable, or if they need to have a car to live there. So the walk score and sound score, really great pieces as well.
I actually had to ask him yesterday what that means.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to mention it this time, is I was like, oh, let me explain.
I was like, what's a walk score? Guys, we sell in Livingston County, Michigan. Like, you absolutely freaking have to have a car here. We have no public transportation, no Uber, and everybody's has an acre, right? And as for sound score, I didn't know what that was either. So how close are you to highways? Is there a factory nearby? Like, is the train going to go by twice a day in your backyard, right? Like, these are so good. Like, those two things were not on the old reports. So those are new.
Yeah. And we've got other stuff that we're adding as well. We've just started with the niche data. We're actually on some of the reports going to show the school district and the ranking for that school district in the state and metro area. We also have the FEMA flood rating, flood risk level. That's going to be added as well. So a lot of stuff's going to be piled on to these geo reports in different styles. In fact, there's a templates button in the bottom left corner that will give you access to all those additional styles of geo reports. Now, I want to give you guys a real life use for this. And so print a stack of these off and have them sitting at that front table at your open house, or if you're sitting down with that buyer who's on the fence, you get to drive the message home on why this listing will work for their lifestyle. There's a lot of different ways for you guys to use this content to really market that listing like a pro. I also want to mention the customize button in the bottom right corner. If you need to adjust the information that's showing on there, you can go into property details and switch what schools you're showing or those nearby convenience options. Maybe I don't want to include gas stations, but they mentioned having dogs, so I want to include dog parks. So you can really tailor this to that specific client. All right, so that's the buyer side. You know, a lot of stuff, as you can see, jammed into this app. I want to keep the show rolling and be respectful of all of you guys' time. So I'm going to jump on over to the seller side of the app and talk about how you guys can use this tool to really look like a rock star in that listing presentation. You know, we actually like to brag that you can create and email off a net sheet in under 30 seconds. All you really need to do is plug in that sales price, an estimated loan balance, and adjust the closing date from the 30-day default if you want to. You know, those 3 input fields, hit compute, you'll be able to tell that seller what they're walking with. And I'll show you an even quicker way to do that. If I plug in the sales price, so I'll stick with that 5.25 price point. If I add an address, the app is going to pull those taxes for me automatically. So that's great. You know, it's going to make my net sheet more accurate. That's an important piece, the taxes. So great. It's going to pull the taxes for me. However, here on the seller side, HomeLink, this feature of adding an address, it's going to do something extra special. If I press that next button, it's also going to search for a loan origination. And if we're able to find a loan origination amount and a year, you can plug in an interest rate and we'll tell you what the estimated loan balance would be. If it's best to ask them what interest rate they got on their payoff, but if they don't know, we will show you what the average interest rate for the year that that loan was originated. So in 2021, average of 2.94. I'll go ahead and use that real quick. And then I'll press that compute button. And there I'm sitting there saying, hey, you know, based on a 30-year fix, you owe about $416 right now. You know, if I'm at my kid's soccer game and I ask that homeowner how much they still owe on their current mortgage and they don't know off the top of their head, me being able to pull this automatically, I'm going to look like a rock star. So it's going to pull it. It's going to run a 30-year by default. We can press that edit button to do a 15-year instead. And you can press that use estimate and it's going to load the taxes, loan balance, and interest rate right here into your input screen. Now, for those of you who are on top of that loan balance, maybe you're working with a homeowner and they do know exactly how much they owe already, you can plug that in manually yourself. HomeLink's just going to try to pull that for you automatically. So essentially, to run this net sheet, all I need to do is plug in a sales price and add an address and press compute. But I do want to point out 2 other fields that are important for pros like yourself. And so first, I want to talk about that broker fee. You know, it's defaulted to 6%, 3%, 3% split. But if we need to adjust that split, we can press that settings gear and put a flat fee on one side or both sides if we need to. I also want to talk about the miscellaneous field. You know, this is for things like seller's contribution, HOA transfer fee, anything like that can either be loaded in as a lump sum here in the miscellaneous input field, or if you want to line item those out, you can press that settings gear. And when I press that settings gear, I also want to point out that we have the ability to subtract from closing costs. So debits and credits can be done here via the settings gear on the miscellaneous input field. All right, enough about this input screen. I want to get to my results for my seller. So I press that compute button, and just like that, I sit down with that seller and I say, hey, assuming the sales price of 5.25, the loan balance I pulled for you, the prorated taxes owed, that's based on what time of year we're closing, and then all those closing costs, you're looking to walk with about 65.5. You know, there's no faster way for you guys to get to this net number and no easier way. This is something I can do one-handed while I'm pushing a grocery cart. You know, this is the quickest and easiest way to talk about that net number with the seller. And all the functionality I showed you on the buyer side available here as well. So I can itemize those closing costs out, tweak those if I need to. I could press that share icon in the top right corner, send off a great looking report, translate it, choose from different style, colors, all that good stuff. I can edit my results. So if I'm sitting down with that seller at that listing presentation, I show him this and he says, 65 sounds good, but I really need 85 for this new house I found. I can press that edit button, change this net number to 85,000 and say, hey, for you to walk with 85,000, we'd have to sell it for about 546. Just wanted to let you know that's what we'd have to do. So again, the editability of the results screen, giving you guys the flexibility to be really fluid in that conversation. This is something that we didn't get to cover yesterday when I met with GoGo, but it's something that she said earlier just reminded me of it. If you shake your device here at the results screen, it's going to run 5 net sheets at once for you. So sitting in that listing presentation, being able to say, hey, if we listed it and sold it for 5.25, you'd be walking with about 75. You know, if the market rejects that price and we have to lower it to 515, you'd be walking with 56. Would you be okay with that? You know, more realistically, I think that we might get a bidding war started and maybe the price would be driven up to 535, which would have you walking with 74. You know, being able to lay out these 5 different sales prices and corresponding net at close, it's going to make you look like a rock star when you're sitting down with that seller, having that back and forth about how much they could end up walking with. So again,
Mike, before you go into the next thing, I have a couple questions. Number one, the sheet that you showed us with the school information and the walkable distance and yada, yada, all of that stuff. Is that available? So right now we have 3 states open. By the way, guys, we are going to have 7 states open in literally any day now. And then after that, it only takes 14 days for us to open up the next state. So whichever state that you are in and you have an interest in this one, I need you to put it in the comments right now. Within 14 days, we have that state open for you with all of these numbers. So then you are going to have it for yourself, for your team, whatever, whoever you need it for. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, if that state is not open right now, Mike, and they download it. So let's say somebody is in Oregon and they downloaded Michigan just to have this. Would the Geo thing work? Would they get the school district information and all that, or not until that state is open?
Yes, you definitely can. So the home link and the Geo Reports, which technically uses home link as well, it's running for the nation. So
awesome.
Yeah. So you can the fees will be different, but technically I could use this and be associated with a Florida account and just plug in an address for West Virginia. I saw that was one of the options there. It's going to pull the taxes. So the fees will be different for that state. So it's not going to work 100%, but it will work for the taxes. And then it'll also work for that Geo Report data. You can plug in any address and it'll work for anywhere.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Country, I'm not sure.
But guys, make sure to put the states in the comments. I saw 18 comments, so I'm assuming you put the state in there, and then we will have it ready for you within 14 days.
Awesome. All right, so back to our seller results screen here. Next, I want to, again, draw your attention to that blue bar at the top of the screen. That's going to show additional result screens that you can swipe over to. The holding costs on the right side, this is something that you guys can use on an unrealistic seller. You know, if you're working with that seller, they want to list the house too high for that neighborhood. You're trying to figure out a way to get them to lower that listing price. The holding cost calculator is what you can use. What it's going to do is it's going to tally up the taxes, insurance, and interest over 3, 6, 9, and 12 months. So you can show that homeowner how much that house is costing while it sits on the market because they wanted to list it too high. And I can even go into this edit expenses button in the bottom left and add things like HOA. You're paying $100 a month in HOA and $1,200 a month in utilities, and you're paying that pool boy $100 a month. I can go in here, add all those fees that they're paying while that house is sitting on the market, hit compute, and now I'm able to sit down with this homeowner and say, hey, I know you've got your heart set on listing this at 5.25. That's quite a bit higher than the comps in the area. I've looked at the comps for the past year. The last house that was priced that high above the comps, it sat on the market for 9 months. If yours sits on the market for 9 months, you're going to be out about 32 grand. It might be better for us to list it for a little bit less, have it move quicker so that 32 grand isn't coming out of your pocket. And this is a calculator that was really popular. Then when house prices started appreciating really fast, it became less popular, but it's becoming more popular again because a lot of these homeowners, they are getting unrealistic. You know, they've heard about how crazy the market's been. And so they're like, oh, I want to list it for $1 million. Well, if that neighborhood is in a $1 million neighborhood, then this is a great tool for you guys to use to talk them down to a more realistic listing price. So that's the holding cost on the right side of your net sheet. On the left side, you can see that it says multiple offers. This is that tool that Gogo was talking about earlier. You can compare up to 75 different offers with this. I can go in and add those different varying metrics that help me differentiate those offers, things like earnest money, home warranty, contingencies, all these different things that really help me illustrate the differences between these offers. I can edit my closing costs for my offers. We do have escalation clause being added and Gogo. I checked the other thing that's being added to this, which I saw in the test build yesterday, is the buyer's agent name. So that's a way for you to differentiate the different offers and where they're coming from.
So the reason, Michael, is so yesterday I said, what a great tool, right? So you enter all 27 of your offers and it spits out who's the winning offer. But then I have to go back to all 27 and see offer price, down payment matches. Yeah, good. Mortgage, oh, it's conventional. Never mind. It's not this buyer. Okay, next one. Offer price, down payment. Oh, it's not the right down payment. Next one. Like, how do I know which one is the winning offer? Like, do I put in offer number 1, offer number 2, offer number 3? Do I put in the buyer's name? Do I put in, like, how do I differentiate of which is the actual winning offer without having to go through all 27 of them? So I guess you do it based on the buyer's agent's name. Perfect.
Right.
If that agent made 3 offers for 3 different buyers, then
yeah, exactly. Then it gets a little dicey.
Then you're in a pickle again.
We'll handle that problem when we get to that problem. But yeah, so that is something that's coming. We're pushing out an update in about 2 weeks. So the buyer's agent name will be added to this.
So it sounds like somebody else had the same question, huh?
yeah. Maybe, I don't know. But yeah, so you can also star an offer. This is something that, when used correctly, it's such a great feature. It's a small one, but maybe that seller was looking for the offer that had the earliest close date. Me being able to star an offer and say, hey, I know that closing date was something that was important to you. I went ahead and starred the offer that had the earliest close date. So really cool feature there. Any additional offers would be added with that blue add offer button down there at the bottom. I can go in and add, like I said, up to 75. Once I've added all of those, there will be a share icon in the top right corner that lets me send off a great looking report. Now, I do want to mention that with this, we're not only going to create the offer comparison at the top, but the subsequent pages after that, we're actually going to create net sheets for each of those different offers for you. So really cool feature here, and a really popular one. We used to have a limit of 12 offers on it, and a couple people reached out for 50, 56, and so we rose it to 75. So I challenge you all to try to break it at 75 so that we can lift it again. So that's the sellers tab. I'm going to go ahead and continue the show and jump on over to calculators. Well, actually, I want to make sure I get the premium stuff this time. How much time do we have? I want to be respectful of you guys this time.
Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So the calculators tab, there are a variety of other calculators here. We don't have time to go through all of them. However, I do want to show you, if you click on any of these calculators, I'll click on rent versus buy, and you'll see a play icon in the top left corner. That'll let you watch a tutorial video about that specific calculator. So you guys can, on your own time, learn how to use some of these additional calculators. There are 2 that are really relevant right now for each their own reasons that I do want to mention with you guys. So sell to net and monthly affordability. These are the 2 that I do want to cover with you really quickly. They're reverse calculations, but they make you look like such a rock star in approaching a homeowner or a potential buyer. So the sell to net is the reverse calculation of that seller tab. It's going to let us run that net sheet backwards based on a net goal. So I get to start with how much they want to make and then tell them what I need to sell the house for them to reach that goal. This one's a popular calculator right now because a lot of homeowners have gained a lot of equity over the past 2 years, and they know that, but they don't know exactly how the numbers shake out for their scenario. So with this calculator, I'm able to walk up to that homeowner and say, hey, you've made a lot in equity over the past 2 years with how the houses have appreciated. You're going to make a lot more on the sale of this home than you think. What's your magic number? Like, what would you need to make on the sale of this home for you to actually let me list it and sell it for you? Do you need to walk with 150,000? Do you need 200,000? Like, what's your goal? What do you need to walk with for you to actually get the process started here? And so that's what I would do. I would plug in their goal. They want to walk with 150,000. I plug that in. I add their address in the top left corner, again, so it pulls the taxes and makes this estimate more accurate for me. And also so that it pulls that loan balance for me. So I'll use both of those numbers, the taxes, and after I input an interest rate, that loan balance amount, I'll use both of those. And then I'll press that compute button down there at the bottom. And now I'm sitting down with this homeowner saying, hey, for you to walk with 150, we're going to have to sell it for about 617. And you know what? I've looked at the comps in the area. I think you could sell it for more than 617. I think we could actually get 645 for this beautiful house of yours. That would have you walking with about 176. That sounds good, right? It's more than your 150 goal. Let's go ahead and get the process started. So being able to walk this homeowner backwards based on a goal that they have, such a tremendous tool right now for you guys. The other one is the reverse calculation of that buyer estimate. Being able to start with a monthly payment. I'll go ahead and open that one up. This is something that I can use on a renter to show them how much home they can afford with that rent, or I can approach a first-time home buyer with a little bit
Mike, we lost you. Your mic just went bye-bye. Did we lose Mike altogether? Or just his sound?
Just his sound, I think.
Testing.
Here you are, okay.
Here, I switched back to the other mic. Let me switch back to this one and see.
Yep, we can hear you. Or maybe not. Say something.
Yeah, I'll just switch to this one. Is that, can you guys hear me okay on that one?
Yeah.
Okay. So I could use it on a renter to show them how much home they could afford with that rent payment, or I could use it to approach those first-time home buyers and say, hey, how much are you guys comfortable spending monthly? Whatever the case may be, for this calculator, all I need is a desired payment. And when we talk about a desired payment, we're talking all-inclusive. Principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. Because a buyer's not saying, I want to spend $3,200 plus taxes and insurance. They're thinking a PITI payment, whether they realize it or not. So that's what we use, PITI. So that buyer wants to spend $3,200 a month. I plug in $3,200 desired monthly payment. I hit compute down here at the bottom, and I'm able to say, hey, with 10% down, that $3,200 is going to get you a house in the $369 price range. However, if you can manage to put more down, let me grab that slider, slide it over to 20%. With 20% down, that same $3,200 a month, you're actually looking for a house in that $413 price range. So again, it gives you the flexibility to really approach these home buyers a little bit differently and talk about the numbers in a unique way. And what's really popular about this calculator right now is the hidden feature. Again, that shake feature. What it's going to address here is interest rate. These results that we're looking at, yeah, you could get with 20% down, $3,200 a month, a $413 priced home. However, that's with a 5.5 interest rate. If that interest rate rises with that same $3,200 a month, you're not going to be looking at a $413 price range anymore. So with the shake feature, if I hold my device in front of me and I shake it back and forth, it's going to create that screen that says, as interest rates go up, your buying power goes down. So if I'm working with this renter, you know, they want to spend $3,200 a month, but they're on the fence about it. They're thinking about signing their lease for another year. I'm able to say, hey, we've already experienced two rate hike jumps of 0.5%. If we experience 2 more over this next year while you sign your lease and interest rates creep up to 6.5%, you're not going to be looking at a $413 priced home with that $3,200 a month anymore. You're going to have to find something in the $387 price range. So being able to show them that, hey, you don't want to wait and have these rates creep up. You might have to find a house in a different neighborhood or a different school district. Being able to have that conversation, again, the shake feature on your monthly affordability, such a powerful tool. All right, so jumping back to the calculators, I don't want to go into any more of them because I want to show you all that cool stuff in the premium section, but I do want to say one last thing about these calculators. Everything in the buyer, seller, and calculators tab, aside from adding your photo and logo to your account, the Geo reports that I showed you, and then the 2 iBuyer calculators at the bottom of this calculators tab, everything else in the first 3 tabs is being provided to you guys for free, thanks to the Academy Title team and the University Title Agency team. So you're getting a tremendous amount of value in the free portion of the app. You're getting 15+ different calculators, printouts for each of those, shake features, swipe features, all of that included for free. So you don't need to subscribe to that premium section if you don't want to. However, I'm about to blow your mind with how much value you're getting for that 99 cents a month. So let's go ahead and jump on into it and talk about this premium content real quick. So the premium section, this is, like I said earlier, that marketing content library. The way it's laid out, first, you're going to have featured cards up here at the top. There's thousands of pieces of content in here. It can be overwhelming to choose what you want to post. And so this is an area where you can look at what's hot, new, and relevant. In addition to that, you'll see that the first 4 cards on here, they're all green with this corner banner. That's part of what we call a monthly marketing package. At the beginning of each month, we're going to choose a centralized theme and then create 4 pieces of content to help you talk about that centralized theme. So for example, this month it was interest rates because interest rates were jumping so fast. And so we created 4 pieces of content at the beginning of the month for you to talk about interest rates. Next month, I believe we're doing June is home ownership month. And so I believe the content's going to be based around that. We'll continue to drip content to you throughout the rest of the month. But at the beginning of the month, we want to choose a centralized theme and give you 4 pieces of content to talk about that centralized theme. We'll email you about this monthly marketing package, send you a push notification, and there will be a pop-up here in your premium section, all regarding that monthly marketing package. We also have tutorial videos up here as well. So you can click on any of these featured cards and be taken to that specific piece of content or to that tutorial video. Now, in regards to the actual content that you're getting for your subscription, that's going to be found below where it says, what do you want to post? And there's 5 categories: infographics, swipeable infographics, filters, personalized videos, and lead gen calculators. First, I'll start at the top: infographics and swipeable infographics. These 2 categories are pretty much the same. The difference between the 2 is that infographics are singles, whereas swipeable infographics are multi-piece image sets. Otherwise, the 2 categories are the same. You'll have different sized versions for the different platform placements in both categories. The difference between the 2 is singles versus multi-piece sets. Now, what infographics are, they're flyers or graphic sets that help you illustrate certain statistics or concepts or trends. So for example, how interest rate changes your buying power, or what low inventory means for somebody who's thinking about selling. A lot of these concepts, we want to help you illustrate that to the consumer in a more consumer-friendly way, and that's what these infographics are about. What's really special about them is that they're tied to our calculators. And so if they show an example scenario on them, you can actually adjust the numbers of that example scenario to work with your clientele specifically. Now, since both of these categories are the same, I'm just going to go into swipeable infographics. So I'll press the See All on that category. You'll see that there's a tab bar at the top for different sized versions for the different platform placements. We've done other stuff to optimize it for the various platforms. I'll show you that in just a second. There's a sort list if you want to search for content. For those of you down there in Florida, you'll probably be as excited about this as us here in Texas. We actually have Spanish as a category. We've started translating some of these infographics, started with Spanish, and so you can see which ones we have in Spanish by choosing that Spanish sort list, but we've got a bunch of sort lists here. A lot of content here. I'll click on one and just give you an example of the type of content we like to create for you guys. So I'm going to open up one of these. Since we're in the swipeable infographics, I'm going to swipe to the second page. You can see in the top right corner, there's 2 pieces to this set. This is how we'll do our swipeable infographics. We'll have a branded end card for you. We're going to pull your profile information, populate that onto the end card. I also want to point out the call to actions at the bottom of the screen. That's based on the platform placement that I've chosen. So since I'm in Facebook post version of this piece, these buttons line up with the buttons on Facebook. If I had chosen Instagram, there would be different call to actions that line up with the buttons on Instagram. For those of you who are not as well versed in social media, we have suggested captions and hashtags that can be accessed here. You can copy that, include that in your post. We gave that to you already. I'm going to swipe back to the first page and kind of walk you through this piece of content just so you can understand the types of stuff we make. This is a piece of content we created to help you guys in that difficult conversation with buyers who are on the fence waiting for the market to crash. I know you all have dealt with a buyer who said, you know what, prices have risen so fast that a crash is inevitable. I think I'm going to wait for these house prices to go down a little bit and then I'll buy. Well, this is a piece of content we created for you to help you explain, hey, even if the market crashed and house prices dropped 7%, which is a lot, that cheaper house is still going to be more expensive thanks to the way interest rates are projected to rise over the coming year. You want to buy when rates are low, not just when prices are low. So this is a really great piece to use on that type of buyer. Now, again, these are dynamic. So we're showing a 350 price point on there, but maybe that doesn't work with my clientele. Maybe I need this piece of content to say 6.25 for it to resonate with my clientele. Well, if I press continue down there at the bottom, it takes me into the calculator that corresponds with this. I can now plug in a 6.25 price point up there at the top, hit compute at the bottom, and now it's going to tailor this scenario to work with my clientele. It'll now say 625, 7% drop on that would be 581. So good for you, Mr. Buyer. You bought that same house for a lot less, but if we look at what you're spending a month, you're spending more a month for that cheaper home. Does it really make sense? So this is a really great piece of content. And that's just one example. We've got a ton of content in here touching on different subjects: pre-qualification versus pre-approval, renting, the loan limit jumps, all these different concepts and things that you guys need to illustrate to your followers to really look like an expert on social media and the real estate industry. This is the content you need to do that. So urge you to take a look at all that stuff. A lot of cool stuff in the infographics and swipeable infographics. Next category, filters. For those of you who like taking those photos, recording those videos, we want to help you do that and help you add a fun frame around that content. Whether you're taking that selfie, pictures of those buyers standing in front of their new house or sitting at that closing table, signing their paperwork for their first time buying a home, or you're trying to market a listing, all these different photos and videos that you guys are taking, we've got content to help you dress up those photos and videos. If I press see all on that category, just like the other category, we've got a tab bar at the top for different sized versions. We've got categories that you can scroll through. Closing, if you're trying to take a picture, congratulations on becoming a homeowner. If you're trying to market that listing, just listed. Open house, if you're trying to market that open house. Hashtag realtor life is funny catchphrases you guys love to say. And then seasonal will be all the social media and national holidays. You'll see some Memorial Days filter loaded in there tomorrow, maybe at the end of today. I'll open up a filter just to show you, maybe I want to take a picture of those buyers standing in front of that house. So I, open up my filter. I can switch over to video mode if I wanted to, or pull from my library. I'm just going to snap a photo real quick. After I snap a photo, there's a logo toggle that shows up in that bottom right corner. I can flip that, pinch and zoom, drag this, place it in that top right corner, include my branding on this photo before sharing it. So, I mean, whether you're trying to record an open house invite or market that new listing of yours,
awesome.
Content. Yeah. All right. So that's filters. That's the most popular category of premium content. We crossed over 1 million shares on Facebook back in November. Next category, personalized videos. This is similar to the infographics. We're going to take these stats and trends and create some content you can be proud of. Just like with the other categories, you press see all, there's a tab bar at the top for different size versions. If I open up one of these videos, you'll see they're really great videos. We use powerful animations, quotes, stats. They're really great video that you can be proud of. The most recent one talked about how we may think that interest rates are high right now because they've risen so fast. But if you look at the data, historically, these are still historically low interest rates. So we've got a really cool video that goes through some of the rates for the different decades, some of that memorabilia for each of those different years. Then it shows all of them together. The most important piece, though, is the ending. We want you to be able to take ownership of this content before sharing it. So we're going to pull your profile information and brand this video for you. So definitely some cool stuff there. Last category of premium content, lead gen calculators. And this is the underrated piece of content. I'm so happy that for those of you who stayed on the call, that you're getting to learn about this. This is a way for you to generate leads on social media by putting calculators out there and letting the consumers run the numbers themselves. So for example, let's say that I want to attract more sellers. I need listings. We're all looking for a way to get more listings. Well, let me scroll through, choose that net sheet category. I'd click on that. I then would choose what thumbnail I want to use on Facebook. I'll choose this listings wanted one. I can press that share icon in the top right corner and share this to Facebook. And I type up a post that says, hey, my last listing sold for $30K over. Curious how much I can make you on the sale of your home in this hot sellers market? run the numbers yourself with my free calculator below. And maybe I even tell my friends and family, hey, share this with anybody that you think might be considering selling in this hot sellers market. Now I've got this net sheet calculator out there circulating Facebook. Any of those curious homeowners who click on that and try to run the numbers, I'm going to be emailed their contact information. So especially with how much some of these companies are charging you guys for leads, this being a portion of your 99-cent subscription, you're getting a lot of value in this one category alone. I always recommend that you have a couple of them running at all time, maybe a rent versus buy, a buyer estimate, and a seller net sheet. Put them out there and let them collect leads for you passively. All right, so that's the premium content. A lot of cool stuff. Last couple of things to know about your app. Bottom rep corner is going to be your title rep tab. So if you choose Chris Keels, it'll show his photo here and all his contact information. If I jump back, I see real quick that we had a question about, can that be ran as an ad? Yes, there's a few options for that. So let me just show you real quick. The lead gen calculators, the best place to share them is on Facebook, because it'll show the thumbnail that you choose on Facebook. Essentially, these are just websites that you're sharing. And so it's giving an example preview of that website on Facebook. But we give you a variety of other ways to share this. Essentially, it's going to create a link that you can share however you want. So if you're well-versed in Facebook ads, you could create an ad and then paste this link as the landing page for that ad. We also, on the web version, we give you the ability to copy the embed code for these calculators. So if you want to have a couple of these calculators on your website, you can go log into University Title Agency 1 on the web, copy your embed code, and then place this in your website. So there's a variety of different share options. That's how you would go about that. Great question.
And then you could create a simple video story style, right? And then take this link and add it to the
yeah, the
on Instagram. Yeah, on Instagram you can't include a link, but if you're making a post, you can say link in my bio and then just put it in the bio, right? Or you can create a story style video and then take the link and include it in there. And you can email it out, you can text it out, you can name it in any possible website that you can use a link like a Facebook or LinkedIn, any of these Facebook groups, anywhere that you conduct business, you can post a link, post it.
Correct. Turn it into a QR code and paste that QR code everywhere up in a neighborhood. You can use that however you want. So
you're in a data industry. The more data that you can collect, the more information of people that exist in this world you can collect, right? Because think of it this way. Do you know a single person who doesn't have to have a roof above their head?
Not one.
Not one. So everyone in this world is my potential client. I don't care if they're in Honolulu, because then I know an agent who's in Honolulu and I'm going to refer them out, right? I'm going to call that agent and be like, hey, Jessica, I have Adam, and Adam just wants to know how much his home is worth. I run the numbers, but I really need you to take it from here. Would you take it at a 25%? Absolutely. Right? Yeah. So you can look at this, not just in your own local market, but everything that you can possibly, anywhere that you can collect data, sell it to another agent to do the work and you collect commission.
Yeah, love it. All right, the last thing to know about your app, if you go back to the buyer or seller tab, there's going to be a menu icon in the top left corner. That's where we've got all those menu settings options. Of course, if you need your closing costs, if you want to contact our support staff, available Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Central, you can call, text, or email right here from the app. Really friendly, really helpful. We've got tutorial videos. I know I showed you that there's a play icon in the top left corner of all those calculator screens, but if you want to sit down and watch all the tutorial videos, even though you learned from the Grandmaster today, you can go to our YouTube page with this tutorials button and watch those tutorials. And then of course, profile and account settings, that's where you go in and update your photo, logo, contact information, all of that good stuff. I know I mentioned a disclaimer, being able to edit that. That would be in account settings. You'll see that your disclaimer is here and you can go in and edit that. And then another thing that is always good to mention is if you go into the profile, I know some of you guys might be on the same brokerage, and so I do want to explain with updating your logo. If I press that logo up there, there's options for uploading them. First, gallery is just going to open up your gallery locally, and it's going to let you choose the image. If you want to upload it to our system so that other agents at your brokerage can have access to that logo, you'll want to choose upload logo. If you upload the logo, it's going to put it in our system, and it'll show in this all logos option. So for you, those of you guys looking to upload your logo right now, chances are we've already got your logo in here. We've got about 6,600 logos already in here. So you can go in here and search for your company name, and chances are we already have your logo in there. And if we don't, as long as one of you at that brokerage chooses that upload logo option and loads that logo, then it'll show in our all logos, and the rest of you will be able to use that as well. So, all right, that is your University Title Agency One app. Any questions that are hanging around that didn't address?
Thank you, Mike. You are awesome. Can you stop sharing so we can see everyone?
Yeah, definitely.
So did we answer all of your questions? There was a lot of happy thoughts in the chat box. Everybody's so excited about it. I told you this is the best app that's out there. I've been using it for 8+ years, and I can't even imagine how many times it saved me a deal, right? Because you can run the numbers right there and then. You just always have to be one step ahead of another realtor. That's your job, right? To represent your clients and win them those deals. So any questions that we didn't answer? We try to like keep the chat box going.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, y'all did really good at that. Thank you, by the way.
You did awesome, Mike. Thank you so much. So it looks like we answered everyone's questions. Guys, we are in 7 states in this moment, right? So by the end of the week, probably all 7 going to be open. Christy shared the states that we are in right now. All the other states that you included into the chat box here, we are going to work on opening them. They should be open within 14 days. The idea is that we will be open. We're going to have Palm agent for every single everyone, right? But at least for the states that the Team GoGo agents are in, which is over 45 states right now. So we definitely working hard in the background. I just wanted you guys to see how it works. In the meantime, you can download it with the state of Michigan if you want to, and the Geo still works. So you can use it in your area. If you decide to download Michigan, use Chris Keel as your rep, and you will have pretty much full access, right? And then as soon as you have your state, then you re-download it. I'm assuming with the right state, or maybe you just toggle in between. Toggle. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Mike, for your time. Toby, if you're still on here, thank you so much for your time. Thank you, everyone. Go get them. And Academy Title. Okay. So how you use Academy Title? Thank you. So Academy Title Agency, guys, it's one of my companies. We would love to earn your business. It's a title company nationwide. We work in every single state. So any state that you are in, we would love to earn your business. We included the link. It's academytitleagency.com. All you need to do is just like any other title company, send them your files, and we would love to earn your business. So it's academytitleagency.com. Thank you, guys. Have an awesome day. Go get them.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.